Hi, I'm Peggy Farren, and we are live with the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel and nature photography. Today's topic is preparing for travel and travel photography. Now let me just start with, I am in Southwest Florida, where in the summer we have a thunderstorm every single day. Well, just 1 minute ago, we had a major power outage, and one of my power lines was actually sparking behind us. So thanks be to God that we got the power back right in the nick of time. Why did I decide to do a live show? I don't know. Anyway, just a little preparation. We're going to talk a lot about things that have links, website links. So those links will all be on our show notes on our website, which is www.understandphotography.com. So this is all about preparing to travel. We're not really going to get anywhere on this show. We're just going to prepare to go somewhere. So the very first thing that I think you should do when you're getting ready to travel is call your cell phone company to find out about roaming charges. One of the things that I was really pleasantly surprised about the very first time I went to St. Croix was that St. Croix is in the United States, it's the U.S. Virgin Islands, and there are no roaming charges if you have an AT&T phone. Or was it Verizon? I don't remember. Anyway, check first. So you could have a good surprise or you could have a bad surprise and find out it's really expensive, and then you don't want to use your cell phone while you're traveling. I mean, you could use it on Wi-Fi maybe, but a better option is probably just to get a SIM card. You can get a SIM card that goes right into your phone. So you still have your phone with all your information, everything you need in it, but you get a SIM card that'll work in the country that you're going to. And you can get that here in the United States, which I highly recommend. You can also get one abroad, but then you're going to be spending your valuable, precious travel time looking for a SIM card. Do you really want to be doing that? No. Anyway, I found a really good article online about just different cell phone charges and how to travel with a cell phone. So that's going to be, that link will be in the show notes. Next thing, what kind of chargers do you need and what kind of electrical adapters do you need? Now you're a photographer if you're watching this show, so you are going to need your chargers, and you got to make sure that they're going to work in the country that you're going to. Learn important words and phrases in the local language. So at least at the very minimum, learn to say please and thank you. But you should also learn to say, you know, how much, nice to meet you, where's the bathroom? That's a pretty important one. And really work on your accent so that the people can understand you. If you're saying something and they don't understand you, what's the difference if you learn the words or not? And we have a story when we went to Cuba, went to the restaurant, and Joe Fitzpatrick, my partner, was leading the trip. So he gets to the restaurant, and our tour guide in Cuba had made the reservation. So he gets to the restaurant, he says, we have a reservation for 10 people for under the name of Patricia. And they're looking, and they can't find anything, and he said, Trish, couldn't find anything. Understand photography? No. Joe Fitzpatrick? No. Couldn't find it, couldn't find it, couldn't find it. So anyway, the maitre d' finally shows Joe the reservation form, and he said, yeah, it's right there, Patricia. And the guy said, oh, Patricia. Patricia sounds nothing like Patricia. So he had no idea what Joe was saying. Anyway, preparation. So here are some government programs that are going to make your life easier as a traveler. The first thing is a free service called STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Plan. It allows U.S. citizens and nationals traveling abroad to enroll their trip with the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. And the benefits of enrolling in STEP ahead of time is that you can receive important information from the embassy about the safety conditions of the country that you're traveling to, which helps you make informed decisions about what you're going to do and where you're going to go. It also helps the U.S. Embassy contact you if there's an emergency, if something comes up like a natural disaster or something like that. They can find you, and they can also find you if there's an emergency at home. They can, your family members or friends can get in touch with you. Are you guys hearing all that thunder? Of course we have to have a big thunderstorm right now. Anyway, make sure to read the travel alerts and the warnings, but don't let terrorism keep you at home. Unless there's something really bad happening, you know, the chances of something happening to you are pretty slim. And travel is so good for the soul. You need to get out there, right? Another government program is called Global Entry. And this is a U.S. Customs and Border Protection program that allows expedited clearance for pre-approved low-risk travelers upon arrival in the United States. So if you're a Global Entry member, you can go up to this a kiosk and just kind of, I think you put your passport in there or something like that, and you don't have to wait in the long lines. I know Miami Airport has this program, and it's really nice if you belong. There's also something called TSA PreCheck that you can sign up for that expedites traveler screening through the TSA security checkpoints. So if you get all of these things done ahead of time, you're not going to be waiting in the long lines as often in the airports. You're still going to have to wait in lines. I mean, it's an airport. That's just the way life goes. One more government thing. There's a customs form CBP, which is Charlie, Brian, Peter, 4457. Now that customs form, you want to mark down all the equipment that you're bringing with you, because if you're traveling, let's say you're traveling to Japan where all the camera stuff is made, they may say, hey, you got to pay a duty on that camera equipment that you bought in Japan. So you need proof that you didn't buy it there, you had it with you in the beginning. Again, we're going to put these links in the show notes on the understandphotography.com website. Okay, still preparing. Keep both digital and physical copies of your passport, your visas, your driver's license, your birth certificate, your health insurance card, serial numbers of all of your camera equipment, serial numbers of all your camera equipment. I'm saying that twice because it's really important. And important phone numbers in case of emergency. So you want all that stuff on your phone, and you want all that stuff in paper, okay? Call your credit card company ahead of time to let them know that you're traveling internationally, and to double check the foreign transaction fees. Now for me, I have 3 different credit cards, and when I travel, I only use one because it's the only one I have that doesn't have any foreign transaction fees. Same thing about ATMs. Find out what the fees are, because you don't want to get hit with some huge fees that you didn't even know were going to happen. All right, download the mobile boarding pass and have a paper one with you. It's easier for them, you know, with the paper boarding pass, but if something happens, like it gets wet or it just didn't print right, the barcode's not scannable, you'll have the one on your phone as well. How in the world did we ever live without our smartphones? I have no idea. And now I have one of those big ones, so it's much easier for me. I love it. I can see, my thumbs can type on it. All right, so we're still getting ready. We're still getting ready. I haven't even talked about camera equipment yet, which I will, don't worry. And by the way, if you, this is a live show, and it's our 2nd episode, so we're just getting used to Facebook Live and how everything works. But you can write comments under this live show. So if you have questions or suggestions or comments or anything like that, type them in. And if, you know, Sierra will kind of flag me and let me know if there are some comments, and I'll maybe take a break and answer some questions or whatever. All right, so back to getting ready. Don't put all your money in one place. You know, for me, I always wear the, what do you call it, the money belt around my waist. If you have socks, you can put money in your socks, some money in your purse. Just keep it all kind of separated around you, so if somebody does pickpocket you, you're still going to have a little bit of money somewhere. Pickpocketing is a big problem in many countries, so you have to be very, very aware of your surroundings at all times. Carry a bag that zips, not one that just has like a little snap or something where they can just kind of get in. Now that being said, I did a girls' trip to Chicago a long, long time ago. And we were shopping, and we were in a store somewhere, and I was looking at the counter, and there was a pickpocket next to me, and I had no idea. It was a crowded store, and one of the things they do is they bump into you and, oh, excuse me, kind of stuff, and you think nothing of it, right? Well, she had my purse unzipped, and her hands taking my wallet. She was pulling my wallet out of my purse, with my purse hanging right on the side of me, and I didn't even notice. One of my friends saw it happening and just said, hey, let's go, grab your purse, let's go. And so we got out of there. But I mean, they're skilled. They have all kinds of tricks, so just be really, really careful. The other thing is try not to identify yourself as a foreigner or as somebody who has a lot of money. You know, there's no reason to wear all your jewels or anything when you're traveling. Why? Who are you trying to impress? The pickpocketers? That's not who you want to attract. So avoid wearing clothes with brands or English phrases. Just, you know, kind of blend. If you blend, you have less, you're less of a target. If you're taking a long flight, bring some socks. Remember they used to give us socks? They don't give you socks anymore. So bring socks because your feet are going to get cold. All right, so I'm going to start getting into camera equipment. And the first thing, the advice is to travel light. Now, is that even possible to do as a photographer? Traveling light is the hardest thing for us as photographers. So think about, you need to give your back a break. You're not going to want to carry around a bunch of heavy equipment, especially if you're taking a vacation. So your first question is, am I taking a vacation or am I on a photo workshop? Because there's going to be a huge difference in the gear you bring. If you're on vacation with your family, do not bring all your heavy gear. All you're going to do is make your family mad. And if you're on vacation with your family, the purpose of the trip is to be spending time with the family having fun. So keep that in mind. I'm lecturing you. Okay, I'm going to get into the gear now. So a small point and shoot camera may be all you need. So here's what to look for in a point and shoot camera. Most important thing with any camera are the lenses, right? We all know that. Lenses are so important. That's why we keep buying more and more lenses. Same thing with a point and shoot. If you can find a point and shoot camera with a Zeiss or Leica brand lens, you're going to probably have better pictures. Very good lenses, Zeiss or Leica. If you think about the lens, a 25 millimeter to 100 millimeter is a nice range for a lens. So if you can find a point and shoot like that, that's good. Optical zoom. Digital zoom is useless. It just crops the picture. So if you have a point and shoot that has a digital zoom, disable it. Look in your manual and find out how to disable it, because all you're doing is cropping pixels out of your picture, and you don't want to do that. Optical zoom will give you the better quality. Remember that when you're looking for a new camera. Another nice feature is if you can find a point and shoot that has low light capability. Now, how do you know if it has low light capability? It should say in the description if you're buying a new camera, or if the camera goes all the way up to ISO, ISO 6400 or higher, it's probably going to be better in low light. And you never know where you're going to be taking pictures, so a low light capabilities are really, really a nice feature to have. Now, that's a point and shoot, but if you don't have one, I'm going to recommend buying a bridge camera instead of a point and shoot camera. So what is a bridge camera? Well, I have a Panasonic LX7, Panasonic Lumix LX7. It's an older camera. I don't even think they make it anymore. but it's the size of a point and shoot. It's very small and lightweight, and it's between we call it a bridge camera because it's between a point and shoot and a DSLR. This camera will shoot in the manual setting, as well as it'll shoot in all of the, the professional modes like aperture priority, shutter priority, things like that. When I use this camera, I hardly ever put it in manual, but it's nice that I can. So what do you look for in a bridge camera? Well, this I'm saying from experience. The most important thing I think at this point is a viewfinder. My Panasonic Lumix doesn't have one, so I have to look at the back of the camera to see what I'm going to take, the picture I'm going to take, and if it's bright and sunny, I can't see. I cannot see what it looks like on the back of the camera, so it's just like, okay, just a wild guess to see if I'm, maybe this is going to come out, I don't know. So I don't like that. I wish this had a viewfinder. Now, Panasonic does make Lumixes that have viewfinders on them, but it was something I didn't think of when I got this camera. Good lenses. This has a Leica lens, so it's a really good bridge camera. Mine does not have a detachable lens. They're nice, but they're not necessary because, of course, they're probably going to add weight. And remember, we're trying to pack light. And an optical zoom, I already told you, digital zoom is useless. Okay, we talked about point and shoot. We talked about bridge cameras. Now we're going to talk about mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras. Mirrorless cameras have come a long way. The quality on many of the mirrorless cameras is just as good as a DSLR. I don't know that they're quite there, but they are really, really close. So you have basically three options if you're going to get a mirrorless camera. Micro Four Thirds is best if your primary goal is small and lightweight. Full frame is best for quality and low light, but your lenses are going to be heavier. So there is an in-between on a mirrorless camera. It's called an APS-C. So it's a crop frame camera. And it's in between a Micro Four Thirds and a full frame. So it's a compromise. So it's going to be a little heavier, but not too bad. And it'll give you a lot more diversity, I guess. Make sure it has a viewfinder. Oh, I love my Panasonic Lumix, except for it doesn't have a viewfinder. That is such a big problem. And then also on a mirrorless camera, many of them don't have as many lens options as you might want. So depending on where you're going for travel, make sure that they have the selection of lenses that you're going to need. If you're traveling, to cities and things like that, and you're not going to need a big, long zoom lens, you're not going to have as many problems. But, just know what kind of lenses you want before you buy the camera. I guess that's a better way to put it. Okay, so the Mac Daddy. The go-to camera for professional photographers is a DSLR, all right? You're going to get the most versatility, the widest selection of lenses. Most DSLRs have excellent flash systems, either built right into them or compatible with them. The widest range of accessories, the fastest autofocus, which is good for moving objects. They're usually the best for low light conditions, which if you're going to be taking pictures inside or at night, you're going to need that capability. And it's just easier to use a DSLR. You've got buttons and dials instead of menus on your DSLR. So you don't even have to look to see what you're doing. When I'm using my Panasonic, if I want to use this camera in the manual setting, I have to put it on M, and then I have to kind of fool around this dial and then hit this in order to change the aperture and the shutter speed. Where with my DSLR, you don't even have to think about it. I'm a Canon shooter, so that your thumb is your aperture and your forefinger is your shutter speed. You don't even have to look at the camera when you're taking a picture. So it's easy to change your settings. And of course, a DSLR really is the best value for your money. It's heavy though. This is the biggest problem with a DSLR. They're heavy. And the lenses are heavy. Don't forget your memory cards, batteries, charger, voltage adapters, lens cloth, camera manual. You need all that stuff too. Now, I was mostly talking about if you're going on vacation. Now I'm going to talk about if you're going on a photo workshop, because things are a little bit different. What kind of gear do you need if you're going on a photo workshop? This is a serious photography trip, all right? For instance, our St. Croix trip. It's 2 weeks from now. We've got 2 openings. Come with us. Now, this is a photography boot camp, so it's a week-long photography class, but it's in an exotic location. So we're going to do all kinds of fun things. We've got the fire dancers going to come and model for us and twirl the fire, so you're going to learn off-camera flash with a slow shutter speed. We're going to do steel wool photography, but we're going to start with a class shooting in manual. Everybody's going to be shooting in manual the whole week. It's going to be great. Okay, I'm going back. So if you're going on a photography adventure led by a professional photographer, your best bet is just ask the instructor, what kind of gear should I bring? What lenses do I need? Do I need a tripod? All that kind of stuff. If you don't have all the equipment you need, that's usually okay. And do you really need it? If you have less equipment, it's going to force you to be a more creative photographer. That being said, life is easier, not life is easier, but photography is easier if you have the right gear. Take 2. Take 2 cameras, take 2 lenses, take 2 flashes, take 2 of everything if you're on a serious photography adventure. Just think about that. If something breaks, you're going to want to continue with the photography adventure. If something breaks, what are you going to do? You need to have a backup. Now, your backup might be your bridge camera. You might not have 2 bodies of, 2 DSLR bodies, but have a backup so that you don't have to just stop the trip in the middle of it. That would be a bummer. Now, sometimes it's not practical to have 2 of everything. If you're taking a trip on a safari to Africa and you're bringing a 600 millimeter lens, most of us don't have 2 of those, nor do we want to carry 2 of those, because those are not lightweight lenses, as you know. But do the best you can. Have your backup equipment so that you're not going to just be out of luck if something happens. Okay, so your camera body is the easy choice because most people only have 1 or 2. If you have 2, bring them both and consider compatibility, especially when you're talking about lenses. Okay, I'm a Canon shooter. I've got lots of Canon cameras. Some of them are crop frame cameras and some of them are full frame cameras. Not all of my lenses work on both cameras. So when I'm taking a trip, choosing the lenses, I want to bring as few lenses as possible because I don't want to carry them. So I want lenses that will work on both bodies, okay? Also think about, some of my cameras take CF cards, some of them take SD cards, things like that. Of course, those are small. You can bring lots of those. And as I said earlier, a lot of times I'll bring my bridge camera as a backup. So lenses are the toughest decision when you're packing for a photo adventure. Again, you want to ask your instructor if you're taking a class or an adventure with a professional photographer. If not, what you need to do is anticipate your photo ops. Where are you going and what kind of lenses do you think you're going to need? Are you going to be doing a lot of landscape photography? Well, you're going to need a wide lens for that, right? Are you going to be doing night photography? You're going to need a tripod and a fast lens. If you're inside, you're going to need a fast lens. If you're up close, you're going to need a macro lens. If you're going on a safari, you're going to need a long lens. Okay, so all of this makes a difference. So where are you going is going to make a huge difference on what you're going to pack as far as lenses. By the way, we have, if you're watching this live, you're watching this on our Facebook business page. So it's Facebook.com/understandphotography. but we also have a group, which is more interactive. When I first started the Facebook page, I didn't know that it wasn't interactive, that people, if anybody wrote something, it doesn't show up in the feed unless it's a comment. So I started the group to be more interactive. So if you're going on a trip, join our Facebook group, and that's facebook.com/groups/understandphotography. Join our group and just ask us. I mean, it's not just us. We've got, I don't know, over 1,000 photographers in our group. Say, hey, I'm going on a trip to St. Croix on October 2nd with Understand Photography. What lenses should I bring? Anyway, okay, back to this. If you are going on a trip, zoom lenses are best for versatility. That way you don't have to bring so many lenses. It's ideal if you can get by with 2 lenses. All right? Now, on a zoom lens, the rule of thumb is the bigger range the zoom, the less the quality. All right? So, if you have an 18 to 300 millimeter lens, it's probably not going to be as good as a 70 to 300 millimeter lens. Does that make sense? So the wider the range of the zoom, the less the quality. Now, that's in general. I'm sure there are exceptions. There are bad 70 to 300 millimeter lens, and there are good 18 to 300 millimeter lens. But that's a general rule of thumb, okay? Probably your best bet is to bring 2 lenses that complement each other. So if you're on a crop frame camera, maybe you're going to bring your 18 to 55 millimeter lens and a 55 to 250 millimeter lens. So you've got a big range there. On a full frame camera, that would be maybe 24 to 70 and 70 to 300, something like that, okay? Bringing those 2 zoom lenses is going to give you a lot of versatility. You're going to have, enough range for nice scenics and landscapes, but you're also going to have, a nice long lens to do the close-ups or to do the shallow depth of field that we love so much. If you're going on a bird photography workshop or wildlife workshop or anything like that, you're gonna need a long lens, and probably 300 millimeters is the shortest lens you're gonna need. So you need a long lens. If you're going on a trip of a lifetime to Africa, invest the money and buy a long lens. Buy a 500 or 600 millimeter lens, because you will be so grateful for it. Another idea is to overlap. Instead of just bringing the 2, you could overlap the lens lengths for backup. So you've got maybe a 17 to 50 and a 24 to 105 and a 70 to 200, something like that. Lenses are the hardest decision always, because they're the ones that add the most weight to your camera. And when we're traveling, and let's face it, some of us are getting older. We don't want to carry around all that heavy gear. And by the way, if you are going on a photo adventure, or even if you're on vacation with your family, keep in mind that you have to carry your own gear. What do they say? Pull up your big girl panties and suck it up. Our very first trip that we ever offered with Understand Photography, Joe Fitzpatrick was the leader, and I was an attendee. And we had a prima donna with us who it was good that it was our first trip, because we have since learned to deal with prima donnas. But she insisted on having all this heavy gear, and we're saying, don't bring that. It's too heavy. It's too heavy. You're going to have to carry it. Well, sure enough, halfway through, and it was St. Augustine in May, which we're going again this May, and it is a fabulous trip. It's a very diverse trip. It's a little bit of everything, but the main focus is bird photography. But then there's also, downtown St. Augustine with all the history and all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, of course, halfway through, it's 1,000,000 degrees in May, and she's carrying all this heavy gear. And halfway through, she's like, oh, my back, oh, I can't carry all this. And of course, everybody just looked at her because we all told her not to bring all that heavy gear. And of course, the guys, the nice guys, they all picked up all her gear and carried it for her. But you know what? She's never coming on a trip with us again, and she's tried. But man, don't be a prima donna. Anyway, okay, speed light. You're going to need some kind of flash. So either bring your speed light or pop-up flash. Now, when I travel, unless it's a photography workshop, if I'm just on vacation, I am going to bring my crop frame camera because it has a pop-up flash. I don't want to carry my speed light. That's just another thing to carry. It's heavy. Well, it's not super heavy, but when you add it to everything else, it just adds more weight, more bulk. I don't want to bring it. So I bring my crop frame camera when I'm just taking a vacation. Now, on a photo workshop, I'm going to need my speed light. You can put your tripod, again, if you're on vacation, you might not need a tripod. If you're on a photo workshop, there's probably a 99.9% chance you're going to need a tripod. You can check that in your luggage, but take the head off your tripod and put that in your carry-on, okay? Polarizers and ND filters, bring them. If you don't have them, get them. At least get a circular polarizer filter because you will love it. If you're not using one, I believe we have a good article on our understandphotography.com website about polarizing filters. It's going to saturate your colors, it's going to reduce glare, and they're really, really small, so they're easy to bring with you on a trip. On your trip, you're going to need a laptop to view and download your photos. All right, here's another problem I still have. My laptop weighs a ton. It is so big and heavy, and when I bought it for the bigger screen size. Oh, I like this. It's nice and big. I can see it. It's easier to type on it. But now my next laptop is going to be a little itsy-bitsy laptop because my laptop is so heavy to carry with. I can barely carry everything on my back between all the camera gear and the laptop, and you need to carry it, you know? And then you have to pick it up and put it in the overhead bin if you're on an airplane. It's so heavy. So if you have a lightweight laptop, that's better. Lightweight laptops generally don't have a lot of storage space, so you bring a small detachable hard drive. So every night, during your photo workshop or even on your vacation, load your pictures on to the laptop. All you got to do is plug in that detachable hard drive to your laptop. So you load it in right through the laptop to the detachable hard drive. And then I also bring about 1 million SD memory cards, okay? So I have 2 backups. I have the detachable hard drive with my pictures on it that I back up every night, and then I still have the pictures on the memory cards. And memory cards are so cheap nowadays. Boy, when I first started, they were so expensive. A 256 megabyte compact flash card was about $150. It's funny to me. I still have them too, a lot of them. And by the way, if you ever have a problem with a memory card, I just throw them away because it's not worth the risk. If something's wrong with it, it's not worth the risk. Throw it away. All right, what else do I have to talk about? Manuals. You want to put your camera, download your camera manual to your cell phone. You never need your manual when you're first starting out, but then when you get confident and you start pressing all the buttons on your phone, or I mean on your camera, that's when you screw things up. So if you have your manual handy, then you can just look it up. Because you might not be able to Google stuff. What if you go to Cuba? You know how hard it is to get on the internet in Cuba? It's nice to have that manual right on your phone. I already talked about this. I'm going to talk about batteries again. Bring backup batteries, especially if you have a little bridge camera or a point and shoot. These camera batteries do not last very long. In fact, thank God, Joe, when I bought this little Lumix before I went to Paris, and it was the only camera I had on me when I went to the Opera House. And if you've ever been there, it is magnificent. It is just unbelievable. I mean, I was just in awe the whole time. I was taking pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures, and sure enough, that battery That battery died after about an hour and a half. Not even that, I don't think. So thank God I had a backup battery on me, or I would have, I mean, we were in there for 3 or 4 hours. It was so awesome, and if I couldn't have taken pictures the whole time, I would have been bummed. All right, batteries, chargers, memory cards, voltage adapters, lens cloth, lens pen. If you're not familiar with a lens pen, those will help clean off things on the outside of your lens. And then you need a little blower. Maybe you need to get some of the dust off your lens, or maybe even in your sensor, but be careful. Anytime you're messing with your own sensor, be careful. Bring rain gear. Now I'm going to have a link in the show notes to a company that right now the name of the company escapes my mind, but they make some really impressive rain gear that folds up really, really small that you can put over your cameras and speed lights and tripods and everything. But at the very, very minimum, bring some of those little disposable ponchos that you can get at the dollar store. We had, whenever we do a photo adventure, we try to be as prepared as possible. So we had a trip to Miami a few years ago, and of course it rained. And we ended up having so much fun in the rain. We all put on our ponchos, and we were all, we wrapped up our camera gear, and I mean, it wasn't pouring rain, but it was raining. And we ended up having so much more fun in the rain because we were prepared. And we got cool puddle pictures, and we just had a great time. But we were prepared with rain gear. Another thing, when you're packing your cameras and your gear, put them in Ziploc bags to prevent damage from condensation in case things get wet. And also bring some tools. Remember I told you to take the head of your tripod off and put it in your carry-on? Well, you're going to need at least an Allen wrench to put that back on and to adjust your tripod in general. So what else do I want to say? When you're packing, you want to anticipate the worst and prepare for it so that it doesn't happen, right? Don't attach your camera body and your lens. Take them apart. Wrap them up in the Ziploc bags, okay? If you think about that, your camera body and your lens, where it attaches is weak. So if your camera's being jostled around in a bag, you're messing with that seal, and you could really mess up your camera, and that would be bummer. That would be a big bummer if you're on your way to a good trip, right? Keep in mind that there's really no such thing as FAA regulation size luggage. So what you need to do is you need to check the airline or the carrier's website for size and weight limits. If you're flying on 2 different airlines, one to, one from, check both. Also check their policies. Last year my nephew and I went on a discount airline to Puerto Rico, and I was like, wow, look at the fare. The fares are so cheap here. And so, one mistake I made is I had my 17-year-old nephew. I said, read through the website because I want to make sure they're not going to sock us with any hidden charges. Well, sure enough, they did. Now, they were hidden charges, though. They were very sneaky on the website. So you have to be very, very, buyer beware nowadays. So we got to the airport in Miami, which is a 2-hour drive from here, and they said, oh, there's a $50 charge for your carry-on each way. So our airline tickets cost us $100 more than we thought. We could have got a better deal on a regular airline. So I was mad, and I'll never fly that airline again. I'm holding a grudge, man. Anyway, but most airlines, 1 carry-on and 1 personal item is typical for what you can bring. So for your carry-on, I mean, it's really nice to have a custom Pelican case or something like that to keep your camera from getting broken, but on the other hand, that kind of flags you as somebody who has something expensive in your bag. So a better idea is to have kind of a generic case and put your camera bag inside that generic case. So one of the things I have a light green cotton backpack, and I actually put my camera bag inside of it. So I just look like I have a cotton backpack on. Now, is it going to last very long? No, but I paid $12 for it, so if I have to get a new one soon, that's no big deal, right? That way nobody knows, you know, you just look like a regular old person. You don't look like you're traveling with expensive stuff. If you can find a backpack, that's best because you're going to have to carry stuff, and if you can carry, you know, even out the weight, it's easier on your body. That's why backpacks are good. But even better is if you can find a backpack with wheels. So then when you wheel it, you can wheel it around when you're in the airport, but when you need to carry it, you can put it back on your backpack, on your back. Your personal item must be small enough to fit under the seat. Measure it to be sure, and again, check the airlines for whatever their measurements are. All right, so what if you're trying to obey all these rules, but you don't have enough space? Well, photo vests are your friend. Now you're thinking, well, I am far too fashionable to wear a photo vest. Well, you know what? Suck it up. Photo vests have so many pockets and compartments on them that you can carry a whole lot of extra stuff. In fact, you can put your toothpaste and your, all your personal items just in your photo vest alone. Probably you could put a shirt in there and everything. They're awesome. So remember that. Photo vests are your friend. So if you you're like, I still can't fit everything I need, you know what? Ship it. That's what the professionals do. All those big heavy lenses, they carefully package. They take them up to the UPS or the FedEx depot and they ship them. So keep that in mind. You can ship your gear to meet you ahead of time, right? Just make sure you have one camera on you though, because you don't want to miss the travel part of it either. And then of course, don't forget to bring your personal items and your change of clothing. All right, we're going to go through a checklist. You ready? Before you pack, make sure all your gear works. Try everything, okay? Check all your batteries. Make sure they're all working. Make sure everything's clean. If your sensors are dirty before you go to Africa on your camera, guess what? They're going to get filthy when you're in a dusty area. Any city is going to be dirty. So make sure that your cameras are cleaned ahead of time. Format your memory cards to the camera you're going to be using them on. Record your serial numbers. Let me repeat that. Record your serial numbers of your lenses and of your cameras, okay? If your camera gets stolen or lost, you want to be able to find it. You never know. You might be able to. Make sure your insurance is up to date. You know, every year I go through, my assistant goes through to see what new gear I bought, and if we remember to tell the insurance company. So we have that on our checklist once a year because, sometimes I buy gear and I just forget to tell the insurance company. So before each trip, make sure everything's insured. And then remember I told you about that customs form CBP 4457. Okay, you're all packed? Now weigh your bags. Make sure they're going to be on the weight that the airline you're taking says is good. Remember, there is no FAA weight. It's for the airline that you are going to be on. And then take a picture of your luggage. This is such a great idea. This way, if it's lost or stolen, you'll have a picture. You can show the police. You can send it to the police. It's going to be so much easier to find. And that same note, this is the only thing I'm going to say about when you get there, but take a picture of the outside of your hotel when you get there too, because that way if you get disoriented or lost, you've got a picture of the hotel. You can show it to someone. If you don't speak the language, here's my hotel. Somebody can help you get back to it. All right, no place to go. Where are you going to go now that you've learned how to pack everything and what to pack? Well, understand photography just happens to offer photo adventure trips. Now, I told you a little bit about St. Croix, and I'm going to tell you again because it's in 2 weeks, and we still have 2 openings. All of our trips this year are limited to only 5 photographers, and all of our trips are workshops. They are not just tours. Yeah, we're going to go to all the cool places. You're going to see all the cool things, but everything we do has lessons built right into them. So you're going to be learning the entire time you're on the trip. Now the St. Croix trip in 2 weeks is actually a boot camp. So this is designed for beginners to intermediate photographers because we're going to start you from scratch. You're going to be shooting in manual the entire week. By the end of the week, you're going to be shooting in manual like a professional. But you're going to learn so many things, and we're going to repeat them, but we're going to repeat them with something cooler every time. You're going to do a lot of slow shutter speed. One time is going to be with the fire dancers. One is going to be with the steel wool. One is going to be with the silky water. So you're going to do a lot of different things just to learn and really internalize the principles that you're learning while you're on the trip, having fun, because we love to have fun. Remember, our motto is we simplify the technical, so it's going to be as easy as possible to learn this way. That's October 2nd through the 9th. And then the trip after that is our Everglades 4-day trip in January. In February, we'll go to Mount Dora, Florida. For those of you who live in Florida, Mount Dora is such a cute little place outside of Orlando. It's got like all these Victorian homes, and we stay in a really cute bed and breakfast, and we go in the chain of lakes. That trip is limited to ladies only, okay? St. Augustine is May. And then we also offer custom trips, all right? So if you can get 4 friends together, we'll put together a trip for you. Actually, we'll do it for less people too, but it's affordable with 4 people. All right, understandphotography.com is our website. Our show notes with links to everything we've talked about on the show today are going to be in the show notes probably tomorrow. It's pretty hard to get them done this quickly. Next week's show is titled Understanding the Exposure Triangle. So if you're not shooting in manual yet, or you're trying to really understand like which component do I change? Do I change my aperture, my shutter speed, or my ISO? I don't really get it. Tune in next Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, because remember, on the Understand Photography show, we simplify the technical. This is Peggy Farren. Thank you for watching episode 2 of the Understand Photography show. We'll see you next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Get up!